the expert I quoted earlier, who noted some of the actual real-world limits on this advisory group's power, he served in George W. Bush's Council of Economic Advisors, which, by the way, was not named after a company that any of the advisors were involved in. And he notes, talking recently to the New York Times, that there's a kind of difference here, as I showed you, between a think tank-style bluster and the actual control of the scope of government, the size of government. Quote, they have the bully pulpit, referring to Musk and them, but that's truly it. No real power. His name was Douglas Holtz-Eakin. He ran an entire federal budget office, and given his expertise, we think he is an ideal guest to join us right now. President of the American Action Forum, served as the chief economist on President George W. Bush's Council of Economic Advisors, charts and all, and directed the Congressional Budget Office. For the political side, we are joined by Obama campaign veteran Sheikh Omanduri. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good to be here, Ari.
Douglas, you have a lot of experience on this, and as I mentioned, there's good faith, long-running policy debates about spending and all that. And you've served, as I mentioned, Republican administrations. But let's start with the point you made to the New York Times, because that caught our eye, and then whatever else you want to educate us on, that there actually are well-developed entities within the government that deal with this, as opposed to this sort of outside advisory board. Explain.
Well, I think the numbers people heard at the outset, we're going to cut $2 trillion out of the budget, things like that. It's important to remember that literally this group has no authorities. The size of the federal government and the scope of the federal government is determined by the power of the person. The Constitution put that in the Congress. The regulatory burden and the staffing and execution agencies runs out of the executive branch and the president, and the Constitution put it there. And this group can advise them, cajole them, plead with them, argue they have better ideas than the ones that are going on right now. That's what think tanks do. Now, I run a think tank, and I understand there's Elon Musk and Doug, and there's a big difference there. But that, in the end, is what they've got. And we have, genuine federal budget problems that will have to be addressed, and they will be addressed by elected officials and those in the administration. The other thing I'd say about this effort that I've seen so far, well, I say two things. Number one, so far it's all talk. I mean, Ari, we've heard a lot of talk, and I want to see what they do. Their recommendations will be delivered by July 1st, 2026, well over a year away. I'm very curious to see what actually happens. We had a historical precedent, the Grace Commission, similar hype, similar private sector funding. In the end, it accomplished some valuable things like base realignment and closure, but they were relatively small ball. They didn't change the trajectory of the federal government, so they don't have the authority to do that. So I want to see what they do. The second thing is there seems to be an obsession with the head count, how many agents we have, how many federal government employees we have. And, Social Security is not expensive because it has a lot of employees. It's expensive because we have a lot of seniors and we send a lot of checks. And to conflate those, I think, really misses the point. They should use their expertise to fix real things.
Do you think that's a misunderstanding because some of these people, despite their other accomplishments, might be budget rookies? Or do you think that's just sort of a political thing? Because you've done both. You've been in a political environment dealing with real numbers, where politically it somehow appeals to people to simplify and say, we're just going to cut the bureaucrats.
Yeah, it's easy politics to say that. It's the same as saying, oh, we'll just sit down, and it's just like the family sitting down at the kitchen table. The federal budget's, 20% of the U.S. economy. It's huge. It's very complicated. And to say it's just like sitting down at the kitchen table is really misleading. To say it's all just the bureaucrats is really misleading. So, you really have to get to the nub of the issue, quite frankly. And one of the things that I have noticed about businessmen coming into government, and I say this lovingly, they're not always my best allies in economic policymaking, is that they don't understand that what they view as an extra cost, a set-aside for veterans firms, a set-aside for small business, a set-aside for female-headed firms, those are policy goals. Those aren't extra costs. Those are things that Congress and administrations deliberately put in there. And so from their private sector viewpoint, they think, oh, my God, this is all wrong. But that's actually not a bug. It's a feature. That's what we wanted to try to accomplish.
Exactly. And you mentioned if you have a space that's largely male-dominated and there's Congress makes a policy priority of bringing more women in, that's a choice. Or bringing more green jobs in, which is one of the reasons that Tesla got that money that we showed Mitt Romney criticizing. Che, I'm just going to put the dog back up on the screen. Who doesn't love a dog meme? But what does it tell you that they started from the jump by trying to sort of grift or pocket a benefit out of their advisory board for a crypto that Musk owns?
Well, it reminds me of the famous line from the TV show Succession, "You are not serious people." Elon Musk and Ramaswamy are not serious people. This is entirely run by, like, the same way everything that Elon Musk has done in politics is done. It's primarily a social media entertainment, and it is designed to enrich him, but it is not a serious attempt to cut the federal budget or to improve efficiency or get rid of fraud and waste. What Elon Musk, if you forget, Elon Musk nearly shut down the government a few weeks ago. He nearly toppled Mike Johnson as speaker, and he did it based on lies that he perpetuated on his platform about the continuing resolution, including a pay increase for members of Congress, a football stadium for the Washington Commanders. None of that was true, but he put that out there and nearly shut down the government over it. That is exactly what this is going to be. This is going to be a lot of lies, a lot of overstated, overblown statements, and things like that designed to create content for Elon Musk's social media platform.
Now, Doug, I got 40 seconds. You ran the Congressional Budget Office. What do you say to those listening about what is practical?
It is practical to look for genuine waste, genuine fraud that it exists in the federal government, and genuine inefficiencies. The Department of Education spent 3 years putting together a student loan application for federal financial aid, and it didn't work. These two minds could fix that. Do some things that genuinely improve the efficiency of the federal government. We need a government that delivers on its promises. That's what they should focus on.
Really, really interesting hearing both of you on this, and I think it's an important subject which can be dealt with, as Che mentioned, in a more serious way. So, Douglas, Che, thanks to both of you. I'd love to have you both back. We're juggling on news tonight, so coming up, we have actually one of the